what is the fair tax proposal? What are the pros and cons of it? Well, here to talk with me about that is Jean-Luc Bourdon from Lucent Wealth. Jean-Luc, welcome.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for inviting me.
A pleasure. So let's talk the fair tax proposal. It's back in the news. It was blowing up on social media recently. First, what is it?
It's a proposal that keeps coming back periodically to address the problems that Americans experience with the IRS. The IRS is overwhelmed. For a lot of people, it's also a pain in their side. So the simplistic solution to dealing with the IRS is to get rid of it. And that's a proposal that just that. It's to get rid of the IRS, but of course it doesn't solve the problem of government needing money and where the government gets it from. So the solution to get the government's money is then to impose a sales tax, like a national sales tax on both services and products. And so that proposal would then get rid of the income tax, get rid of the estate tax, and people would just pay a tax on what they consume. And that's, in a nutshell, the simplistic solution to dealing with the IRS.
So it gets rid of federal income, payroll taxes, gift and estate taxes, capital gains, Social Security, Medicare taxes, self-employment, like everything.
Everything would be wrapped into one tax. And so when you take a complex problem, it's like air in a balloon. You can squeeze one side of the balloon, but the air doesn't go anywhere. The air just goes somewhere else. So in this case, you take all the problems caused by the income tax, the estate tax, the payroll tax, and you squeeze it all into one sales tax. And you say, okay, let's just get rid of those government employees whose job is to collect tax, and we're going to impose the collection job on business owners who are going to be dealing as your collection agents. And so it has a lot of appeal to a lot of people, but not all, obviously.
Right. So any thoughts about the pros and cons of this, and then of course your take on it, and whether it has legs or not?
Yeah, it's really rooted in economic theory, and the economic theory very often favors taxing consumption and then rewarding investment, so that there's more investments, more businesses can grow better, the economy can expand, and in theory, it's supposed to be good for everyone by creating an expanding and solid economy. Theory and practice tend to differ. I don't think that proposal has really been tested anywhere, and what we find is that when the rubber meets the road, you find out whether it's going anywhere. So this is just a very theoretical proposal.
Right. From your perspective, people our current income tax system could be said to be progressive. Do you find that this would be regressive in some respects?
In some respect, in the sense that the people that spend the most on consumption as a percentage of their income are people at the lower levels of the economy. So the smaller your paycheck, essentially, the more of it you have to spend on consumption. Essentially, a lot of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. The entire paycheck is spent on bills. And so for those people, essentially 100% of their income would, in the simplest version of the proposal, would be taxed. So obviously it's a problem, and the proposal has a feature where everyone would receive a payment at the beginning of the year to cover the essentials. So people who are poor would receive money, and would be expected that money would be higher than what they end up paying in tax throughout the year. And then in theory, wealthier people would spend a lot more in tax because they would consume a lot more. They would buy more expensive cars, buy more expensive properties. And overall, everybody starts the year with a payment from the government, and throughout the year pays money to the government. But it would be regressive in the sense that wealthy people end up spending a portion only of their income. I have clients who have very large incomes and very, very small expenses. Those people would pay very little taxes and would not have and would have a lot of wealth, essentially.
Right. So very little taxes with respect to the current taxes that they pay.
Mm-hmm.
So, any other pros and cons that are worth mentioning?
A lot of them, yes. It's a little bit like an onion. Then you start peeling, and anytime you start with a simplistic proposal, like if you take a complex problem and you give it a one sentence solution, you're going to have a lot of yes buts. So, for example, if you say, let's get rid of NASA, it's expensive to send people to the moon. Let's just build a big slingshot and shoot people off to the moon, off, problem solved. Then you have, okay, yes, but they need oxygen. Oh, but they need a capsule. Oh, but maybe the rubber band isn't strong enough. And with this proposal, you run into all those, we're at the slingshot phase, but all the yes, but people can go overseas and spend their money. Right now, the American tax system is really ironclad to prevent people from escaping it. With this proposal, all you have to do is cross the border and you're out of the tax system. So that's a problem. I think the problem of getting rid of the estate tax is also problematic in the sense that it creates generation wealth, it creates a ruling class. In Europe, they still have a ruling class, they have aristocracy and royalty, but the way they took away their power was by taxing them where they lost the economic power. Here we would have the opposite, no titles but the economic power, and it creates a problem when you have people by virtue of birth having a lot of money is power, having that kind of power. So when you start looking at the various layers of this proposal, you find that it's really not well fully developed. There's a lot of yes buts that need to be addressed. And then you look at the current tax system and you realize that the reason our current tax system is so complex is that we have handled all the objections of various groups that lobby their Congress representatives. So I think what happens is that when you come up with a proposal that's simple, very quickly you start addressing the oversimplicity of it and you end up with complexity. And so I think this proposal's goal, though, the real intent is not to really oversimplify something that's complex. It's really to force a conversation about how to simplify the current system that we have. And in its various iterations, this proposal has been effective at that. The various past presidents we've had have addressed in some fashion or another, sometimes just cosmetic, the idea of simplifying the tax burden that Americans face. So, for example, you might remember that the Form Text 1040 was supposed to be simplified into a shorter form, and it sounded really good.
Yeah. So it sounds like this has no legs to become reality, but the reality is that it may spark some conversation about what we can do to improve the current tax system. And that seems to be a continual battle: is how do we make it simpler and fairer, etc.
Yeah, the conversation is around fairness, and I think it's exciting to talk about what would be a more fair system, what would be a simpler tax system. I love the idea of kicking the concept around. If I had to get rid of a tax, I would personally get rid of the sales tax because it's an imposition on businesses. Then you deputize to become tax collectors. But all those conversations are kind of interesting to see what would happen. And then eventually maybe some good ideas come to the top and can be implemented. But in this version, I think it's a provocative bill whose real purpose is to, well, for one, please voters. It does, it does have an appeal to it. Get rid of the IRS. But if it gets enough traction, and from what I've seen from surveys, it does have a lot of appeal, then it forces politicians to say, okay, what can we really do to solve the problems that Americans are telling us they want something done about, without necessarily putting a solution that's going to cause more problems than it solves.
Right. Well, Jean-Luc, we've covered a lot of ground. Anything we missed or anything that just bears reemphasizing about this proposal?
I think what I would emphasize about it is that the more people look at it and explore it, the more ideas they have, the more they can realize what is good or not good about it, what they like, what don't like. And if they share that with their congressional representatives, it advances the conversations. It puts pressure, it gives importance to the issue, and one way or the other, it gives a little momentum to change, and much better to be part of it than be on the receiving end.
Right. Well, Jean-Luc, it's always a pleasure chatting with you and having you share your knowledge and wisdom with our viewers. It's so greatly appreciated.
Anytime. Thanks, Bob.